YouTube NBA free agency in 2024 is officially here, and we've had some big moves already take place, and I gotta say we did it, folks. I mean, sorry, I don't know what happened there. And like I said, lots of big money moves for these cap room teams. In this video, we're gonna talk about Philadelphia P, and you know, on days like this, it really makes you happy you trusted the process all this time, and I don't know what I'm saying. Oh my goodness. Stick to the script, Dehave. Like I said, we're gonna go over all the free agency moves that have already happened. You know, we're gonna try to remain as objective as possible.
2 seconds later.
I cannot contain my excitement anymore. The Sixers got Paul George, folks. Let's get into the video. YouTube, that was a brief skit right there, but in all seriousness, I am going to try to contain my excitement throughout this video for my Sixers, so bear with me, but we're going to go through all the free agency moves that have already taken place. At the time I'm recording this video, it's 8:21 a.m. on July the 1st of 2024. Tons of free agency signings to cover. I'm sure by the time I upload this video, plenty of free agents are going to be signed by then, so, you know, we'll be monitoring the situation as it goes along and more videos to come, so make sure you guys subscribe. Let's break down every single move in free agency so far in 2024. Let's get into it, folks. All that being said about containing my excitement, I am going to start with my Sixers because, you know, they were the most active team in day one of free agency, and also it's my channel and I said so. We're going to have to start with the Paul George news, right? So obviously Paul George being the biggest name on the free agent market this offseason, and then 9-time All-Star from the Los Angeles Clippers will be taking his talents to the Eastern Conference once again for the first time since he was in a Indiana Pacers uniform. Paul George has been reported to sign a 4-year, $212 million maximum contract with the 76ers in hopes to contend with my Sixers in 2025 with a player option included in his deal. Obviously, this is probably the best news any Sixers fan has gotten in a long time. The fit is nearly flawless. The Sixers have really needed a two-way shot creating wing for as long as I can remember, and Paul George again fits that bill seamlessly. And again, I can't even tell you how excited I am. The Sixers also signing Andre Drummond to a 2-year, $10 million contract to back up Joel Embiid at that 5-man position, and this is a great move in my opinion. If you guys remember, Andre Drummond spent half a season with the Sixers, and he was actually involved in that Ben Simmons James Harden trade. He played really good for the Sixers that year, and we ended up trading him to the Nets for James Harden. So I'm excited to see Drummond back in a Sixers uniform. I think he's going to be really good for, you know, playing a lot of quality backup 5 minutes for the Sixers, and most notably the size and rebounding on the interior is much needed. This will likely mean that Paul Reed will be on the move, could be in a trade. The Sixers also reportedly agreed to a 1-year deal worth $3.3 million with veteran guard Eric Gordon, and Eric Gordon is still a pretty good offensive player. I mean, another great shooter that the Sixers add, and like I said, on a really cheap deal, $3.3 million 1 year. Sixers adding more offense to that backcourt, and another great fit for the Sixers. I mean, you always want more shooting around Joel Embiid. And the last Sixers move, and then we'll move on to other teams, I promise, folks. I just can't hold back the excitement here. The Sixers will be re-signing forward/guard Kelly Oubre Jr. on a 2-year, $16.3 million contract, and Kelly Oubre had a great season for us last season. Another versatile wing to, you know, bring back to Philadelphia. Great move. So like I said, by far the Sixers having the most active day one as we expected, having the most cap room in the league, and clearly trying to be a contender in 2025. They signed a 9-time All-Star Paul George, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, and Kelly Oubre Jr. What a time to be a Sixers fan, folks. Perhaps the second biggest move in free agency has been the developing story of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, or KCP, leaving the Denver Nuggets, and it was a lot of, you know, speculation where KCP would end up. He's obviously one of the best role players in the league, and he ends up signing a 3-year deal that could be up to $66 million with the Orlando Magic, and I think this is a WW move for the Magic. 2 W's right there, folks. The Magic have needed a shooter in a big way, and KCP fits that bill. One of the best shooters in the league. He can shoot it on the move. He's a great, you know, 2-way off-ball forward or guard, wherever you want to put him. Really good perimeter defender, like I said, and I just think this is a great move for the Magic. Fills a big need as that, you know, off-ball shooter that can space the floor for guys like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner to get to work and get to the rim. So big W for the Orlando Magic. You know, I think they got one of the best free agents on the market on a deal that, you know, I think is pretty good for them. Another massive deal, and this comes from the San Antonio Spurs, and that is future Hall of Fame point god himself, CP3, heading to San Antonio to play with Victor Wembanyama on a 1-year, $11 million deal. And this is insane. Chris Paul, you know, while he's not quite the Clippers or Hornets Chris Paul that we know and love, not quite his prime self, himself, right? But Chris Paul is still a really quality point guard in this league, obviously having some of the best playmaking abilities still in the NBA today. And we've talked about how, you know, the Spurs really need to pair Victor Wembanyama with a playmaker that can get him the ball in the right way. This has got to be a dream scenario for Coach Popovich and Victor Wembanyama, as Chris Paul can offer a lot of, you know, leadership and mentorship to Victor Wembanyama. And like I said, this move will make Coach Popovich's job a ton easier, as Chris Paul is basically an on-court coach. So I gotta be honest though, you know, I thought Chris Paul would go to a little bit more of a win now contender at this stage in his career, but you know, you gotta like the move for everybody involved either way, right? Like I said, the lobs are gonna be crazy with Chris Paul and Victor. You know, if you guys remember the Lob City Clippers, obviously you do, but W move for the San Antonio Spurs, not one that I expected Chris Paul to do. I thought he'd go to the Lakers or the Clippers, but very interesting, and I'm happy to see him in a Spurs uniform. Can't wait to watch those two play together next season. James Harden will end up re-signing with the Clippers, and it appears the Clippers have really prioritized Harden over Paul George, which is an interesting move. Harden played really well with the Clippers last season, and especially in the playoffs. So I think it's a good move for the Clippers. You know, if you're not going to retain Paul George, you know, you probably shouldn't have lost him for nothing, to be fair, but they will re-sign James Harden on a 2-year, $70 million deal with a player option. So, you know, pretty good move for the Clippers, I gotta say. You know, you definitely got to retain one of those guys, and, you know, it appears Harden was the guy all along that they wanted to. Kevin Love declining his $4 million player option with the Miami Heat and signs a 2-year, $8 million deal with the Miami Heat. I think this is a good move for the Heat. You know, Kevin Love coming over a couple years ago, making a big impact, you know, obviously as a stretch four, good rebounder, being able to space the floor in Miami. I think he's a nice rotation piece for what they try to do in Miami, and a good guy to pair next to Bam Adebayo at times because of the shooting ability to kind of allow Bam to operate down low in the paint. So I like the move for Miami, you know, retaining Kevin Love, who is still, again, a great shooter and a good rebounder, and still can get you a bucket in the post in a pinch if you really need him to. Celtics re-sign third-string big man Nemes Keita on a multi-year deal. I think that's a good move for Boston. You know, the deal was pretty cheap, I think, so investing in that backup big man position, especially after Kristaps Porzingis will be missing a part of the, you know, next 2025 season, I think, you know, investing in that big man depth, like I said, is going to be really important. I think, you know, Keita is a pretty good value pick for that situation, as he will not cost a ton of money. Another big name on the free agent market was, and maybe the best center, you know, still available, was Jonas Valanciunas of the New Orleans Pelicans, and he decides to leave New Orleans and sign a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Washington Wizards. And I think this is a very interesting move for a couple reasons, right? Number one, the Wizards are, you know, definitely in a long-term rebuild type of situation. They're not looking to contend. They're not even close to contending. They get a player in Jonas Valanciunas who's kind of a win-now type of player that doesn't really fit their timeline, but you get him on a pretty team-friendly deal, I gotta say. I mean, Jonas Valanciunas, a productive center still in his career, you know what I mean? Not quite the type of center that a lot of teams are looking for anymore, though, because of his defensive limitations and inability to, you know, knock down a consistent three ball. But make no mistake, Jonas Valanciunas is a very productive center, and I think an above-average center, as I mentioned, being a double-double threat every time he steps on the floor. Valanciunas is a great rebounder, one of the best in the league, year in and year out, and a good offensive scorer, right? This is a guy that, again, while he might not be able to knock down a three consistently, he definitely has some, you know, mid-range jump shooting ability to him, some low post scoring options. You know, he definitely has a bag in the post. He's a great post scorer, good hands for a big man, just a smart player as well, tough player. So I think this is a good move for Washington. I really like what they're doing over there. Again, doesn't really fit the timeline all that much, but is definitely an interesting move to say the least. The Phoenix Suns signed Mason Plumlee. I believe this is a 1-year deal for the Phoenix Suns. Kind of an interesting move. You know, the Suns have now 2 offensive-minded centers, you know, in Jusuf Nurkic and Mason Plumlee, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, those two were teammates on Denver all the way back. But kind of an interesting move again. I think Mason Plumlee is a good backup 5 in this league, but, you know, again, kind of an interesting one as far as his defensive limitations. Another backup big man signing a 1-year deal, and that is Luke Kornet, reportedly having agreed to a 1-year deal to return to the Boston Celtics. Obviously, Luke Kornet, along with Keita, like I said, is going to provide some depth at the 5 position for Boston next season, especially while Kristaps is down. You know, I think it's a good move. Kornet is a pretty good player and a, you know, decent backup 5. The Lakers are extending restricted free agent guard Max Christie and sharpshooting specialist to a 4-year, $32 million deal. This is a pretty big deal for Christie. You know, I know he was kind of a breakout rotation player for the Lakers last season. You know, Christie has always had good shooting ability, but, you know, kind of struggled to be consistent with it until last season. I like the move for the Lakers, you know, investing in a future role player that can also still be improving and provide you really good shooting off of the guard position for many years to come. And or to be specific, Obi Toppin re-signs with the Indiana Pacers for 4 years, $60 million. Obi Toppin was a restricted free agent, and I've been saying this all season, you know, they got to re-sign Obi Toppin. He was a big part of what they like to do. Maybe a little bit less so after the Pascal Siakam trade, but Obi Toppin is a really unique type of talent that you don't see quite often in the NBA, and that is a, extremely above the rim athletic freak lob threat, right? Obi Toppin is one of the best lob threats in this league, right? And with the run and gun style offense that the Pacers play, he is very vital to what they try to do. And, locking him down for the future, him adding a consistent three-point shot last season was big for his career. I like the move by Indiana. I think the contract's pretty fair as well. The Clippers will be adding Kevin Porter Jr. to their backcourt. And again, this was another very interesting move that, nobody really expected. And, Kevin Porter Jr. obviously has had some really significant off-court issues, and you weren't sure how that was going to play out because, again, they were significant. Not going to be getting into them in this video, but I wasn't sure that Kevin Porter Jr. was ever going to play basketball again in the NBA. That's how significant they were. And, Kevin Porter Jr., obviously a talented player with the Houston Rockets, right? With a lot of potential on both ends of the floor, in my opinion, but he ends up signing a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, including a player option, and that comes from the Shams Twitter account. So again, pretty interesting move for the Clippers there. I see what they're trying to do. They get a guy that has a lot of potential and, some really good ability right now as a young player for a pretty fair deal. And I see what they're trying to do, but it was just a really surprising move, I think, for me and a lot of NBA fans, but we'll have to see how it works out for the Clippers. One of the biggest moves, in my opinion, that I really, think is going to have a big impact on this team, and that is the Dallas Mavericks signing Najee Marshall to a 3-year, $27 million deal. This is an absolute W for the Mavericks. I mean, Najee Marshall, one of the more underrated role players in the entire league. I've talked about it every Pelicans video I've made this season. Najee Marshall is an unsung hero. This guy is a lockdown perimeter defender who is intensely competitive on both ends of the floor. He can, really shoot the three well as a catch and shoot guy, which, the Mavericks really like in that style of offense. He has some handling ability and some open court passing ability, right? And so Najee Marshall, the perfect type of fit for Dallas, in my opinion, from that forward position. He can guard multiple positions on defense. And again, a fierce competitor on the defensive end of the floor, can knock down a consistent catch and shoot three, and all around just a solid pickup for the Mavericks. This was one of the more interesting role players on the open market, in my opinion, for NBA free agency. I was hoping my Sixers would snag him, but this guy is a defender, man, you got in Dallas. So really good move for the Dallas Mavericks. And then the last move I think we're going to talk about today is, while the Mavericks gain the rights to Najee Marshall on a 3-year, $27 million deal, they lose key impact role player Derrick Jones Jr. to the Clippers. And again, another Clippers move here, and this is a good move for the Clippers, right? Derrick Jones Jr. again was very impactful for the Mavs playoff run and success last season. Probably their best perimeter defender last season. While he's a little undersized and could, struggle to hang in there with those, power forwards, right, on the perimeter. A guy like Tatum, maybe, a little bit stronger than him and similar athleticism, right? I think Derrick Jones is a really good defender either way. I think he can, stick with guards on the perimeter and provide a lot of bounce and juice athletically for the starting rotation. And the Clippers end up getting DJJ for 3 years, $30 million. And again, him and Najee Marshall are kind of similar players, right? Not exactly, but they're going to play a similar role on each team. And the Mavericks end up, getting to save $3 million. And I think end up with a better fit for their team and future with Najee Marshall. But I think, again, these are two really good value role players that, on very similar contracts. But again, the Mavericks end up saving $3 million. But I think this is a really good move for the Clippers. You lose Paul George, you're going to have to replace that, defensive wing, and you get a lot more athletic on the wing, right? And I think that's a good move. The Clippers really needed to boost their athleticism in that lineup and youth, and just, I love the move for the Clippers signing DJJ to replace Paul George on that wing. James Harden and Kawhi Leonard are surely going to have a much bigger role offensively, but with Paul George leaving, but I think, they are able to handle it, right? These are two all-time greats, so we'll have to see how it works out. But that's pretty much it for the free agency video. Let me know down in the comments section if I missed any at this time. Again, it's about 8:45 a.m. at the time I'm recording this video, so it's possible that, the news just hasn't broke yet. I think I covered most of the big ones, so hopefully I did. I'm reading off the NBA.com free agency signing list, so hopefully guys, really enjoy the video. Again, this is a big day for me and my Sixers fan base. What a great time to be a Sixers fan, right? And we're going to take it all the way to the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Don't even say we won't. I guarantee we're making the second round, all right? Paul George comes here. He's going to get us to the second round immediately, all right? So I'm not scared of the Knicks, right? We will make the second round. I can say that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. This is, I'm just really excited, but, maybe we'll break down in a separate video all the Paul George details and stuff like that, but I will catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel because we're going to be covering all types of NBA news moving forward. There's plenty of stuff going on, man, and I'm going to be covering it every day on the channel. We upload every day. All things NBA every day on the DHave channel. I don't want you guys to to miss it. NBA news, NBA free agency, trades, re-signings, Summer Olympics, right? All that stuff every day on the channel moving forward. So make sure you guys subscribe. I want to share this journey with you, man. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it with me. Catch you guys in the next video. This is your boy D-Haven. As always, peace.